So we're going to start off with a incredibly simple tip for how to simplify your daily browsing on your school device. When you have as many tabs open as a teacher needs to have open during a day, it's incredibly important to try to minimize the amount of space that each tab takes up. It's important to keep things organized. And so the first way that we're going to talk about doing that is to use what's called the pinning feature. So I know that I use my Gmail account all the time. What I do is either right click or double click on this tab to pin. Same thing for Google Classroom, pin. If I use the district website a great deal, I would do the exact same thing, right click and pin. And I use Google Voice quite a bit for our parents that don't pick up the phone any other way to send text messages or voicemails from a non-Northeast number. As crazy as that sounds, they might actually pick up pin. Up until recently, this document was a huge part of my life and probably all of yours. This was one that I had frequently pinned on my on my browser. So now I have taken 5 of the websites that I currently had open and I have pinned them. Now they're just miniature icons, but I can still click on them like any other tab to open them up. Okay, so that's tech tip number 1 for this week. Incredibly easy, something that everybody can do, and I think it will simplify your lives quite a bit. Now, when you go to close this window, those pins will disappear. There are other ways to make sure that they open on startup of your Google browser if you want to do that. There's ways to do that. You could always ask me. But for the most part, if you just do this at the start of the day, it simplifies, again, how many tabs you have open. It also just keeps everything in a nice, neat, consolidated space. All right, this second tip is more or less a continuation of the first in that it's all about organization. So we already did our pin tabs here on the left. Now, one of the other things that we could possibly do to simplify the amount of tabs that we have open and to just keep them organized is creating what's called groups. So you see all of these Google Classroom pages, 2022, 2023. I use these every day for Wordle. What I could possibly do in order to try to, again, limit the amount of space these are taking up and also just keep them in one simplified location. If I click on all of the tabs, hold in Control and then left click on all of these Google Classroom tabs. Now you can see that they're all kind of highlighted in red. If I right click now and click Add Tabs to a new group, I can title this Google Classrooms and I can make it green because that's what Google Classroom is, ultimately is green usually. And then I just hit enter. And now you see this green underline that extends all the way from the first one to the last one. These tabs can now be stuffed inside of this Google Classrooms group folder. So if I click on the word Google Classrooms, they will shrink inside of that folder. If I need to get back into them, just click that folder again. Really easy, super simple, keeps things nice and organized. Now, as a teacher, how this applies is many of you are teaching 3 periods a day. Some of you are teaching multiple subjects each and every day. What that can do to help you out is maybe you have a world history folder, and then you have a turbulent 60s folder or a 70s folder, whatever you may be teaching. You might have a different folder for those individual classes. We all have been there before where we've got 42,000 tabs open and you're looking for that one YouTube video and you've got 4 different YouTube videos that you're using in your 3 period day and you just can't find the right one. You get frustrated. This way, it takes a little bit of work on the front end, but it saves you a lot of time and aggravation on the back end. So you could create one, again, for each and every class, have all of the materials and resources that you plan to use digitally during that time in these folders so that you can just go in and access what you need at that time. So I can shrink this. Now I'm currently working on this video. So one thing that I could do is all of these other tabs, I don't need that one, all these other tabs that relate to video creation, I can now do the same thing. Add tabs to group, new group, video creation. YouTube's red, so that's how I'll remember it. And there we go, same thing. I can shrink that down. And then maybe I want to create a new one for teacher observations. PAE tips purple right there across the top. So that's what I'm going to roll with. All right. So if I hit enter on that one, I am good to go. So this alternative schedules, honestly, now that we're done with our 2-hour delay, I can go ahead and close that. So I've got my 5 pinned tabs on the left. I've got my 3 folders on the right. So I've taken my entire home row and shrunken it down to this very simplistic, clean, organized Google Chrome browser. So that's tip number 2. All right, the third and final tech tip for this week is all about saving time using what's called shortcuts. So Google is known for its extensive amount of shortcuts. If you ever want a more substantial list than the ones that I'm going to give you today, just Google shortcuts for Google Chrome. There are quite a few out there that will, depending on what you're using it for, they could be very beneficial to you. The first one that I want to talk about is just Control T. If you hit Control T, that'll open a new tab. If you ever accidentally open a tab and then close it, or maybe you're in the middle of working on, something important and you accidentally close a tab, you can also hit Control Shift T, and that will open your last Google tab that was closed. All right, so you can see here that this is actually just an untitled Google Doc, and I'll explain why that was my last thing open here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these tabs that I don't need. Now, the major thing that I want to focus on, Google Suites. We've got Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. Those are the 3 primary ones that we're using on a day-to-day basis in our classes. Many of you are probably using those yourself, whether it be to create worksheets or assignments or presentations to give in class, for notes or whatever. There's a really easy way to access these documents though. Let's say you want to create a new slides presentation for your class. Instead of going to Google Suite or clicking on the waffle and then finding slides and then opening this up, this takes quite a bit of time sometimes. While this one's still loading, all I can do is go to a new tab, click slides.new, type that directly in your search browser. That will create a brand new, clean Google Slides presentation. The same can be done for Google Docs. The same can be done for Sheets. I don't know if this will work or not, but Google Sites is another one that I use quite regularly. So that's going to work too. So you have all these different quick and easy access shortcuts that you can use with Google. So again, that Control T to open a new tab, Control Shift T to reopen your closed tabs. You can also just use, if you right click on an existing tab, you can go to, or not on existing, on this plus sign, you can go to reopen closed tab. Bookmarking, Control Shift D. Okay, so there's all kinds of things that you can do. Just wanted to share that one with you because I think that's pretty easy. Nice, easy access. As you can tell here from my screen, it's getting late and I'm rambling a bit, but just wanted to make you guys aware of those simple, easy shortcuts. All right, so now I'm about to wrap up this creative process here. I just wanted to thank everyone who's actually watched this video. My goal was to do this in 5 to 10 minutes. It looks like I'm going to be short or slightly over the 10-minute mark at this point, but I'm hopeful that you learned something new. If you have any questions for me, you know where my office is. Always feel free to reach out. I love sharing this stuff. Ever since I got back from P&C, this has kind of been a passion project in the making where I want to make sure that, if there's anybody who can benefit from my knowledge and just, the things that I've learned and I've seen, actually, even just from coming out and viewing some of you in the classroom. I'm not that far removed from the classroom myself. To make a long story short, love technology, love what it brings to the field of education. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to putting together more of these videos for you guys in the future. So if you don't have this extension, you should totally download the Confetti Cannon Google Chrome add-on. It's awesome. Why not? So anyways, that's a wonderful way to just leave this whole thing off. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Can't wait to roll this out for you today. If you learned anything, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube if you want. If you have anything that you want to talk about in person, again, my door's always open to you, and I'm always willing to talk about this stuff. So have a great day. See you guys.